friends, this is the Miss Wolfie from our half-acre homestead, and today we're making and canning broth. Now in my big pressure canner here, with the rack on the bottom, I emptied out my vegetable bag, and there's a whole bunch of bones in here from our chicken dinner last night. I've got about two gallons of water and 2 teaspoons of salt. Now I'm going to put the lid on. Now I'm going to bring this up to a boil until this starts to spout a steady stream of steam. We want to vent this spouting a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes. Why? Because you have to push all the air out of the canner in order to create a vacuum to really pressure cook your stuff. So when this has been spouting a steady stream of steam, we'll be back. Okay, this is your steady stream of steam. It's been venting for 10 minutes. And I'm going to put the 10-pound weight on. I live less than 1,000 feet above sea level, so I use 10 pounds. If you live more than 1,000 feet above sea level, please check your manufacturer's directions because your weights and measures may change. All right, and as soon as this gives me a vigorous jiggle, I'm going to turn it down to medium, and I'm going to let this process for 90 minutes. Why 90 minutes? To get all the nutrients out of the bones and the vegetables. And we've shut the canner off, and we're going to let it cool naturally. Do not try and open your canner while it is still hot to the touch. You have to be able to put your hands on the side of the canner and count to 5 without any discomfort before you even attempt to take the lid off. Please do not rapid cool it by wrapping it in wet towels or putting it in a sink of cold water, any of those things. All right, just let it cool naturally. That's part of the process. Okay, I got a couple of things to confess. I'm not always right about things, so I double check just to make sure. Before we start canning, I have a couple of things I want to tell you and show you. First, I found a package of brand new knee highs. I rinsed it. I rinsed one, and I stretched it over the strainer to strain my broth so that there'll be no or as little debris as possible. Okay? That's that. This is the canner I used to cook this. If you're going to go and cook something in your canner and then can with it, please disassemble your rings and everything. Give everything a complete scrub down. You don't want any grease getting in between here, between this seal and that. So always, if you only got one canner and you're using it for pressure cooking and then canning, make sure you wash it really well. And yes, I will be canning with 4 jars canning lids today. 4 jars always pops. Canning is easier with 4 jars. I always, when I canned stock that had meat in it, I always canned it as meat. I was wrong. You don't have to can it as if you're canning meat. This is vegetable and meat broth, and even straight meat broth only takes 25 minutes per quart, 20 minutes per pint. That is for my canning area. Please check your manufacturer directions for your canning area, okay? If you live 1,000 feet or more above sea level, your canning times and weights may change, all right? So, let's get on to canning this beautiful broth. I have the recommended amount of water plus a shot of white vinegar to stop my jars from clouding in my freshly cleaned canner, and we're gonna turn that on high, and I'm gonna remove this to the sink, and we're gonna get busy. Now my 4 jars canning lids have been washed, rinsed, and have been soaking in warm water. Here's something else somebody taught me on our Frugal Living series. I'm really enjoying the Frugal Living series. These are little flannel cloths that were too small to do anything with, but they're washed. I put them in this jar. I added some vinegar, and whenever I need to wipe my jars, I just pull one out. When I'm done, I throw it in the wash. So let's put a fork in there so we can get our one cloth out. Now, hang on, let me see if I can get you guys a bit closer. Okay, one of the things I love about canning broth is, A, this is still really hot. You don't have to debubble, and you're saving all those vegetable bits. 1 inch from the top or a 1/2 inch from the top. Let me get my glasses on here. Pull out a little vinegar cloth, put the lid on, and put that in the cupboard for another day. Always, always, always wipe your rims with a clean damp paper towel or a vinegar-soaked rag. I mean, why wouldn't you save up all your bits of vegetable ends, especially, and there's also the fact that I'm going to be canning more soon, and so I wanted to free up some freezer space for more vegetable ends and pieces. So into the canner that goes. Now I'm hot packing these. If you were cold packing these, if this broth was cold, you would start your canning water as cold. Fingertip tight. That means don't wrench on it, just fingertip tight. You don't want it too tight or your lids can buckle. Why? Because they've got to push the air out. The canning process pushes the air out of the jar. That's why people lose liquid when they're canning something and they don't properly debubble. Because water gets pushed out when the air comes up from the bottom of the jar. We do not have to debubble liquids like this. I always have a couple of clean jars on standby. I washed these jars out with hot soapy water in the sink, not the dishwasher. I'm not doing that anymore because I've seen my dishwasher, even when I clean it. Well, I probably could have gotten a whole quart, but it is what it is. There we go. Okay, I got 6 quarts and just under a quart in my canner, and I'm going to put the lid on and we'll be right back. Okay, the lid is on, and as soon as it starts to spout a steady stream of steam and this bubble pops up, we're going to time that steady stream for 10 minutes. Please don't skip this step. Pressure canning means just that. You have to push all the air out of the canner so that when you put the weight on, it creates a vacuum. It doesn't work unless you properly vent the canner, okay? So we'll be back when that's spouting and has been timed. So we are spouting a steady stream of steam, and I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. All right, our canner has been venting for 10 minutes. We're going to put our 10-pound weight on again. Check your manufacturer's directions. If you live 1,000 feet or more above sea level, your weights and pressure canning times may change. Now, as soon as I get my first vigorous jiggle, I'm going to turn this down to be between medium and maximum, and I'm going to let it pressure can. 25 minutes for quarts, 20 minutes for pints. If you happen to have both quarts and pints in your canner, always process for the one jar that needs the longest amount of time. All right, there's our vigorous jiggle. I'm going to turn this down a little bit, just between medium and maximum. And I'm going to set the timer for 25 minutes because we're doing quarts. Again, when your canner is done, do not immerse it in cold water. Don't jiggle the weight. Don't do anything until you can touch the canner comfortably. The bobble is down. There is no more coming out. I can safely open the canner. Now, it is still hot. So open the canner away from you. All right? Letting it cool or get down to temperature naturally is part of the canning process. Please don't forget that. And I've put it under a towel to cool overnight. And that is how I take a bag full of vegetable trimmings and some bones left over from supper and made 7 quarts of broth. Waste not, want not. Leftover chicken bones from supper and vegetable trimmings that I have been saving up in a bag in the freezer. Pretty soon the garden's going to be producing and there's going to be a lot more. But until then, it's waste not, want not. This is the Mrs. Wolfie from our half-acre homestead, and that's how you take bones and vegetable trimmings and make that quarter a nickel. Take care, God bless. And remember, folks, if you're a home canner and you're not trying 4 Jars canning lids, you are missing out. These are heavier than any other disposable lid on the market. They are a US company, and if you order over $100, your shipping is free. Check in the description box below this video for a link to 4 Jars canning lids and use the coupon code HALFACRE, all one word in capital letters, for 10% off. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok for ideas and recipes. 4 Jars canning lids, you can't go wrong.